The Tennessee Titans are literally setting money on fire every Sunday as they drop to 0-2 against the Rams. I'll break it down on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, the Titans dropped to 0-2 against the Los Angeles Rams. No one was good enough in this game, but boy, the Titans are setting money on fire with some of their big paid veterans. I'm going to get into why the Titans weren't good enough in this game, how they're wasting money all over the field, but there were some incredible signs of life that Titans fans should be excited about from this game as well. Before we dive into all of it, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. Make sure that you stay locked in with Locked On Titans. But just not good enough. Not good enough whatsoever, especially in the second half. And look, if we're going to keep it honest, if we're going to keep it a buck here, Cam Ward saved the Titans for even being competitive in this game. If not for Cam Ward absolutely walking on water at the end of the first half, the Tennessee Titans would be destroyed in this game. Like, if not for Cam Ward, this would have been one of the uglier beatdowns that we have seen in recent history for the Titans. And my God, that is saying a lot. Now, I do want to say that Cam Ward is also on the list of not quite good enough on this day, but you can't go anywhere except the coaching. Once again, the Tennessee Titans get lucky to be in the game at halftime. They're leading 13-10, and then you come out in the second half and you get beat 23-6. 23-6 in the second half after the halftime adjustments. You know, it's once again, this team is so poorly coached. This is such a poorly coached football team. And let me once again, as I have said for weeks now, I want continuity. I want continuity. If they change coaches all the time, they're going to ruin Cam Ward. You know what's going to ruin Cam Ward? Keeping Brian Callahan as his head coach. That is what's going to ruin Cam Ward. And I know that a lot of you guys are maybe younger. Maybe you haven't had a lot of relationships. Maybe you haven't been out in the dating world. You haven't been in love. You haven't done these things. Let me tell you this, folks. Staying with the wrong person is just as bad as leaving too early. Staying with the wrong person for too long is just as bad. So I don't know what else we need to see. You know, Callahan had a big opportunity here to bounce back, and Cam Ward tried to carry Brian Callahan. Cam Ward tried to carry Brian Callahan to a semblance of NFL-level football. He tried. And then Sean McVay, who is light years of a better coach than Brian Callahan, made adjustments at halftime, destroyed the Titans over the middle of the field, could not get the Titans offense going again. It's coaching, folks. It's coaching. Is the roster great? Is this roster great? No. If you're honest with yourself, this roster is not great. But if you put Sean McVay as the head coach of the Titans, this team's going to win 7 games. They're not absolutely despicable like it looks like out there. I know some of you guys don't want to believe that, but look at what we're seeing. This Titans football team is good enough to be far more competitive than this. At home, 33-19, and only because the Rams felt bad. And only because Cam Ward saved Brian Callahan at the end of the first half. How many times do we got to talk about this? Penalties. 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 Let's just take a gander. 10 penalties after 13 last week, and Brian Callahan harping on the penalties. You know what that means? When you spend the entire week harping on the penalties, and then your team comes out at home, they can't use it was a tough environment, the Broncos crowd, we had to go quick game, the offensive line, it was a struggle, rookie quarterback, first start, all of that's out the window. Special teams penalties. What a stupid penalty from Cedric Gray. You guys can say the Titans got screwed by the refs, but Chim Dike was already past him. And by the NFL rules, that is still a penalty. That was a stupid, boneheaded penalty. James Williams, 2 more special teams penalties. The defense, the pre-snap penalties from the offensive line. The Titans cannot get drives consistently going because they kill themselves with penalties and sacks. The locker room has tuned out Brian Callahan. If Brian Callahan, again, preached all week long about penalties, if Brian Callahan preached all offseason long about penalties, and your team comes out and has 23 penalties in the first 2 games, your locker room does not respect you. Your locker room has turned your message out. Tuned it completely out. Brian Callahan is lost. Brian Callahan is not respected by his players. Brian Callahan does not know what he is doing. Period. How many more examples do we need? And this was such a good opportunity for him to bounce back. I said it on Twitter during the game, at Tic Tac Titans. When you're backed into a corner, when you get backed into a corner in life, you have 2 choices. Either you lay down and you get in the feeble position and you cry, or you come out swinging. And you may die, and you may lose the fight. Look, I'm not a huge guy. I'm 5 foot nothing, But I don't care how big you are. If you back me into a corner, I am going to come out swinging for my life, and I will go down with pride, knowing that I put it out there. Brian Callahan curled up in a feeble position in a ball and started shaking today. That's what happened. The team does not trust their coach. They don't respect their coach. They don't listen to their coach. 23-6 in the second half. 10 penalties. Tell me that ain't coaching. Tell me that ain't coaching. Look me in the eye right now and tell me that ain't coaching. It's despicable. This, again, if you put Sean McVay on the Titans as the coach, this team wins 7 games. I fully believe that. The talent is not elite, but the Titans are a better football team than what they have shown in the first 2 weeks because their coach has no idea how to do the job. Period. Now look, we can talk about Brian Callahan all we want, but again, nobody was good enough out there, including the Titans' highest paid players. And the Titans, it's like the Fairly God Parents, is that the Nickelodeon show where you got the 2 dudes just shoveling cash into a furnace? Or about a reference that I know a little bit better, how about the Joker lighting a pile of cash on fire? That's what the Titans are doing every single Sunday with Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed, and Dan Moore. Absolutely despicable. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. Look, all of you guys get on here every week and tell me how dumb I am, how wrong I am. Well, if you're so right and you're so smart, you're going to be able to make a lot of money on Prize Picks. And they give you these max discounts every week, which is basically just a free winner. Like you could do Travis Kelce, more than a half a receiving yard today. You could do Patrick Mahomes, more than half a passing yard next weekend. It's so simple, it's so easy, and it's so much fun. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. It's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Today's episode is also sponsored by BetterHelp. We all turn to some funny places for advice. Your barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in a bathroom. But not everybody is the right one when it comes to real support. That's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find the right match, someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life challenges. And for me, that's what's most important about BetterHelp. When I'm doing therapy or anything like that, I gotta make sure that I have a connection with that person, and I feel like I have the right person for me. And not only does BetterHelp have, as I said, 30,000 licensed therapists, but you start with a simple questionnaire to make sure that they're matching you with the right fit. And if that match isn't necessarily right, you could switch therapists at any time for no extra cost. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Titans fans, let's continue breaking down the Tennessee Titans loss to the Los Angeles Rams, 33-19. Brian Callahan got absolutely smoked throughout the game, and if not for Cam Ward and Elic Ayomanor saving him on that drive before halftime, it would have been even uglier than it was. But listen, I talked about Brian Callahan enough. We got to look at all this other wasted money because, again, the Titans are literally setting cash on fire and throwing it into a dumpster with some of their veteran players. And we have to start with L'Jarius Sneed. Look, L'Jarius Sneed was one of my players to watch in this game because I knew, and I was right. I had the schematics right for you folks. That's why you listen to Locked On Titans, because you can know what to expect. I told you guys on Friday's preview show that if I were Denard Wilson, I would put L'Jarius Sneed one-on-one with Davante Adams, and then I would try to let everybody else deal with Puka Nacua. That's the best option that they had. And Sneed had some moments early on, but man, as the game went on, Davante Adams just tore him absolutely apart. I mean, that touchdown, that last touchdown to Davante Adams, he just gave him a quick little turn and absolutely cooked him. Davante goes 6 catches, 106 yards, and that touchdown. He just whooped L'Jarius Sneed up and down. Sneed gets a holding penalty on one play in the end zone. The Titans paid a third-round pick for this guy. The Titans paid this dude $70 million. And he's either not on the field or getting absolutely roasted so far throughout his Titans career. He played 21 snaps last week. It wasn't the worst 21 snaps I've ever seen. But now he plays a full game, and he's an absolute liability. Now, that's probably, I think that the L'Jarius Sneed trade might be the number one reason that Ran Carthon got fired. I think Chad Brinker hated that idea. I think that is clearly his worst move that he made. Sneed is an absolute liability out there constantly. But think about how much money the Titans are paying and a draft pick that the Titans paid to make L'Jarius Sneed their CB1. Just literally setting money on fire for nothing to get cooked. Now, Davante Adams is a good player. You know, it's not like people are just going to shut down Davante Adams all the time. But 6 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown all on your head top, that ain't a good game. You can't color that as a positive game in any light. So, and it's not just L'Jarius Sneed. It's not just L'Jarius Sneed. Dan Moore. Dan Less. What a disaster Now, who could have called that? Who could have known that the guy who gave up the most sacks in the NFL last year and was one of the most penalized offensive linemen in the NFL, and a guy who got replaced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, they drafted a first-round offensive tackle in back-to-back years to replace Dan Moore and then let him go in free agency. Who could have guessed that Dan Moore would be a disaster for this football team? Who could have thought? You know? Oh. And I remember these are these moments where people get mad at me and they say, Tyler, you're such a jerk. You're so cocky. You're so arrogant. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm sorry, but I had to sit here for the entire offseason and let you guys tell me that Dan Moore would be just fine. And guess what? It's not just fine. He's garbage. He's not good. And they paid him $22 million. We knew that John Ojukwu or Ali Udo, we knew that they were going to struggle. We knew that. They're backups. They're practice squad level players. We knew that. But that's why Dan Moore was one of my players to watch in this game. Because if Dan Moore was a disgrace, they had no chance at all. And guess who was a disgrace? Dan Moore. Once again, he might be the lowest graded offensive lineman on the team for a second week in a row. Dan less. And the Titans paid more. Dan Moore's agent is snickering like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons right now. Excellent. Think about the cut he got off that contract. You guys are going to pay Dan Moore $22 million a year? What? I'm taking that deal now. Where do I sign? I'll fly there. I got 8 pens in my pocket. Don't let the ink dry. Just crazy. I know that the Titans didn't have a lot of good options at offensive tackle. I recognize that. But out of all of the options that they had, paying Dan Moore $22 million a year was the worst one. I'd rather pay Jalen Moore, who was a backup for the San Francisco 49ers, for $10 million guaranteed for one season. And give yourself some flexibility. Dan Moore isn't much better than Andre Dillard. The outcomes aren't that different. Just throwing money in the furnace. Gasoline. Pour it on. And not only that, look, I like Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is a good player. Good. I didn't say great. He's a good player. But the Rams played so much man coverage in this game. And you're telling me that Calvin Ridley could only catch 3 passes for 57 yards? And he had that one pass knocked out of his hands, and everyone was coping. That's not a drop. That's a good play by the defense. That's just a good play. Well, if Calvin Ridley would have caught it when it first touched his hands, instead of bobbling it for a second, probably wouldn't have been punched out. And why are we looking at Emmanuel Forbes, a disgraced former first-round pick for the Commanders, and saying, oh, he just made a good play? When is Calvin Ridley going to make a good play? The guy who's getting paid $90 million. Is it so much to ask for a Tennessee Titans player to finally make a play? Especially when you have Elic Ayomanor, who is making plays. Ayomanor's the best wide receiver on the team already. And Ridley's getting paid $90 million. When can I expect a Titans high-paid player to make a play? Why is it always, the defense made a play? When are the Titans going to make one? It's absurd. Sneed, Moore, Ridley. Money in the furnace. Whew. Up in smoke. The craziest part about this is the Titans' young players are the ones who actually gave them a chance to win. Now, let me say this before we go anywhere. I'm going to say it. You guys are going to get mad. Go ahead, load it up. Get mad right now. Go ahead, start getting mad. I give you permission. But the reality is, Cam Ward wasn't quite good enough in this game either, especially in the second half. We saw flashes of what we wanted, but Cam had a lot of fumbles in college. And he's had 2 fumbles in 2 weeks. And you could blame the offensive line for that. Sure, go ahead, ignore the college information. Also, the overthrow to Dike. I'm going to break down the tape. There in the second half, he was just holding on to the ball so long when there were guys open. And he just wasn't getting rid of the ball. Maybe he was chasing the big play because they were down or whatever. But we all have to be honest with ourselves. It's not Cam Ward's fault that they lost. But he was not perfect in this game. Now, it's a rookie in his second game against one of the top 5 defensive lines in the NFL and a top 8 football team in the NFL, in my opinion. I'm not saying, every time I say stuff about a single game, you guys take it to a season-long thing. If I say Cam Ward wasn't quite good enough in this game, Tyler called him a bust, Tyler thinks that Cam Ward sucks, but look, no, you're a moron. I'm just saying he wasn't quite good enough in this game, much like the rest of the team. Now, the reality is, though, we saw the flashes of greatness, and we saw what Cam Ward can be for this football team, and we saw what we should be excited about for this football team as well. And we need to talk about that because some of these young players out there, some of these young players, especially on offense, they gave us something to be excited about. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Upside. Hey, Titans fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind like the Titans are doing. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. You can use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just by buying the gas that you already need. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offer varies by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Doing a little tighten up, tighten down. We did my tighten downs with Dan Moore, Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed. There were a couple other ones in there that I could throw in. I didn't think Roger McCreary had a great game. Puka absolutely ate his lunch out there. Obviously, you could talk about John Ojukwu, but we should have known that he was going to struggle. He is who he is. You know what I mean? You could say Jeffrey Simmons didn't live up to what he needed to do. You could go with those as tighten downs. James Williams got more penalties on special teams, all that. But I want to talk about the tighten ups because I know that everybody's pissed off. I know that everybody's mad. The chat's blowing up. I'm getting blown up on social media. Everyone's mad and angry, and you should be angry. You should be upset with how this football team is coached and playing and operated. You should be upset. But there are some things that we should be really, really excited about with this football team too. Like there are some things that should give us real hope and real optimism going forward. And that's Cam Ward. Like I just said, and both these things can be true. I am always shocked at the lack of nuance in some people's brains. You can say Cam Ward wasn't quite good enough in this game. It wasn't a perfect game. And some of the bad things about Cam Ward showed up. But boy, did some of the great things about Cam Ward show up. I thought he was poised. He was composed. Those throws on the sideline to Elic Ayomanor, we got one, folks. We saw the absolute special, generational. I'm not calling Cam a generational talent, but his playmaking ability is generational. We saw him get out of the pocket. We saw him run for a first down on a fourth down. We saw him navigate things. We saw running around, finding a guy, tell him, hey, we're going over here, throwing a strike. Once they got Cam Ward moving out of the pocket a little bit too, we had a couple of those rollouts to the left in the first half. We had a rollout to the right We had the one where he got out of the pocket again on the 4th down and got the conversion for first with his legs. We saw how Cam Ward could be special in this game. And for his second game of his career against a top 5 defensive line and a top 8 football team in the NFL, how could you not be over the moon with what we saw from Cam Ward, even acknowledging that we saw some of the bad from Cam Ward? Okay, all right. But the good far outweighed the bad in this one. And again, if not for the good from Cam Ward, the Titans don't even score 10 points. Period. The Titans had 3 points before Cam Ward put on his Superman cape. Before Cam Ward put on his cape and carried the Titans down the field, helmet catch to Elic Ayomanor. Scramble drill to Elic Ayomanor. Before Cam Ward went David Cornsweat, went Superman, the Titans were floundering once again, lost in the sauce once again with a terrible coach and a terrible offensive line. And then Cam Ward makes some special plays, and now the Titans have a lead at halftime. I mean, again, I will be the first person to keep it 100 with you and tell you that Cam Ward was far from perfect. But the only good thing about the game was the rookies and Cam Ward. That's the only sign of life, the only heartbeat, the only pulse that the Titans had were because Cam Ward has special abilities. So this is like how I felt about Jeffrey Simmons last week. Was Jeffrey Simmons perfect last week against the Broncos? No. But if not for Jeffrey Simmons, the Titans would have been in the gutter. And was Cam Ward perfect in this game? No. But if not for Cam Ward, it's 33-9. It's 40-9. I mean, this is one of the biggest blowouts of the entire NFL season. If not for Cam Ward being special. We got one, folks. He is a good quarterback. His second game in the pros in this environment with this bozo head coach. And he looks the way that he looks. With this offensive line. Like, I don't know. I'm going to be honest about Cam Ward and point out the bad plays, but they're up to 11 sacks on the year. And maybe 1, 2, you could actually sit down and tell me it is 100% Cam Ward's fault. And even then, when I tried to blame Cam Ward for a sack against the Broncos, you guys were like, well, Gunnar Helm snuck out on the, and you could say that the play design was terrible. All right, fair enough. Cam Ward might be worth 1 sack total. A half a sack last week, a half a sack this week. But like, regardless of the down plays, Cam Ward is not the reason the Titans are losing games like the quarterback position was last year. And not only that, but Ayo and Dike. Those guys are weapons. Tighten up for Ayo and Dike. I mean, Chim Dike is a returner. Again, a stupid penalty by Cedric Gray. If you don't think that that's a penalty, you don't know the proper rules. And if you want to disagree with the rules and say it's a bad rule, then okay. But saying that the refs were wrong, that's not right. That was the right call by the rule. The rule sucks. I think the rule sucks and it's trash. But they called it right. The problem with that is Cedric Gray is a moron. What are you doing? Chim Dike is 5 yards past you. You don't even got to touch anybody, and it's a touchdown. Boneheaded play by a player tuning out his coach and getting penalties. But Chim Dike returns that punt, should have been a touchdown, averaged 16.6 yards on his kickoff returns, 18.5 yards on his punt returns, even without the touchdown. He had a 21-yard punt return. And then you go to offense. Elic Ayomanor, 4 catches, 56 yards, and Cam Ward's first touchdown. I got 5 on it. All right, don't copyright me, YouTube. I just got a little excited, wanted to sing a little bit. But I know that right now it's hard to not be anything but terminally angry with this football team. If I was the Hulk, I'd be green and flipping my desk. But the reality here is, most of us didn't expect the Titans to beat the Rams coming into the season. I mean, it was there though. The Rams had 20. The Titans had 16. I said, Titans go down, score a touchdown, 23-20. Titans win. I called it. I got it. I did it. And then, Cam gets the strip sack fumble and the game's immediately over. But it was right there. It was right there. They had a chance. They had a chance to win the game. But nonetheless, I know that it's very, very hard to be happy about anything right now. But Cam Ward's really good. Chim Dike is a weapon on special teams. And when Brian Callahan is gone, he'll be used a lot better. Elic Ayomanor might be wide receiver 1 right now. Ayomanor is clearly better than the 4th round where he got drafted. He's going to be one of the better rookie wide receivers in the NFL this year. The Titans' offense is a disgrace, so it's not like he's going to be Brian Thomas Jr. from last year. But we can see it. And everybody just cannot wait to hate on Femi Oladejo. Had a tackle for loss in this game. Set some great edges. Nobody in the Titans' pass rush really did anything. The only sack that the Titans got on the day was when they blitzed Amani Hooker. Nobody on the Titans' pass rush did anything. I find it hilarious that everybody wants to look at a rookie who is a converted off-ball linebacker and say, Femi's not playing well. Where's Arden Key? Where's Jeffrey Simmons? Why doesn't anybody want to say what's going on with Arden Key? We want to blame the rookie who switched positions? But we don't want to talk about Arden Key being butt? Why don't we blame the veterans who are getting paid money instead of the rookie who's converting to a brand new position this year? Hilarious to me. No one says a word about Arden Key being a ghost, but Femi sucks, right? In 2 games at a new position. Femi sucks, but nobody says anything about Arden. Okay, hilarious. But at the end of the day, again, I know everybody's mad. You should be mad. We should all be upset. This team is a disgrace right now because the coaching is so bad. But Cam Ward, Elic Ayomanor, Chim Dike all looked very good in this game, and they get massive tighten-ups. I thought the interior offensive line was great too. Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler for most of the game. Good. Special teams. Joey Sly is a freak. Johnny Hecker was incredible. So, be mad. We should all be mad. But remember, yin yang, folks. In darkness, there's always a little bit of light. And it may not be good enough this year, but there are players on this football team that are good enough to build back towards a good football team. It won't happen with this coach, but there are some players there that the team can actually use. And that is very encouraging to me, at minimum. But with that being said, again, make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, thumbs up on the video, tighten up on the chat if you're watching on YouTube. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.